Hello, friends. Welcome. We're delighted you could join us.
Happy June, everyone.
Happy June.
It's a wonderful month, a lovely month, and I hope you all have time to sit in your rocking chairs with a little rocking chair therapy or something on your front porch or maybe on your back deck and just enjoy the sights and the sounds and the smells of June. All the flowers are blooming. It's just such a pretty time of year.
Yeah, another sensual month.
It is. It's the month of weddings. It's the month of roses and lavenders that we gather. And speaking of weddings, we just got back from Nebraska where we attended the wedding of one of my twin grandsons. The other one get married in September, but this one was just married, and it was a lovely wedding, outdoor wedding, and it was just beautiful. And on our chargers on the table before we were served, there was a lavender cloth napkin, and tucked into this knot, the lover's knot in the napkin, was sprigs of fresh lavender.
It was beautiful.
It was. And so I'll talk a little bit more about lavender later on, but the lavender tucked into the napkins was just a finishing touch.
It's beautiful.
Those little details that mean quite a bit.
Yes, it's for sure.
Make a difference.
They do make a difference.
They do.
They just like that extra special touch.
Yes. There's a lot happening in the month of June.
And one of the things that's happening right now in our area are the Hackberry emperor butterflies. If you live in our area, you have probably noticed that there's all of these little brown butterflies they're just everywhere. Here and there, depending on where the hackberry trees are. A lot of people don't realize that those are all Hackberry emperor butterflies. They're only going to be around for a few weeks. They have a synchronized life cycle. So they do this mass emergence all together. So they're just really magical. They're when you go outside and they swirl up around you. It's just amazing. We had a repairman come out the other day and he said, "Do you run a butterfly sanctuary?" And I said, "Nope, that's just Mother Nature around here," and which is really wonderful. You know, we've talked about the importance of native plants and insect specialists, those insects that really rely on one particular plant. Well, that's true of the Hackberry emperor butterfly. They lay their eggs only on hackberry trees, which are native here. And it's also called the nettle tree because the leaves are very similar. That's also often confused with elm trees. But, you know, healthy hackberry trees can be almost completely defoliated by the hackberry emperor butterfly caterpillars, and they still bounce back. So they do absolutely no harm. Plus, they are an important pollinator. The hackberry trees and other plants rely on these butterflies for pollinating. And so they contribute, of course, to the intricate web of life, and protecting them and their habitats is really critical to maintaining, you know, what we love here, this delicate ecosystem and the biodiversity. And I love putting out either some applesauce smeared on a plate or sliced apples or oranges or jam, even those types of things. They'll just gather there and they just love that. So if you've got some in your area and you've got kids especially, that's a really fun thing to do to attract them and really be in awe of the amazing, beautiful abundance of them right now.
This is a great time to take a picture of a child out amongst the butterflies.
It is because they land on you. They use their little tongues to just see, you know, get your little saltiness. They're pretty cool.
Yes, they are.
And coming up this Monday, which is June 10th, and every June 10th every year is National Herbs and Spices Day, which, woohoo, you know, of course we love things like that. A lot of people ask us, you know, what is the difference between an herb and a spice? And I always like to say that it's really just a distinction that's useful in cooking. In cooking, if you look it up on Google or Wikipedia, they will tell you that herbs are the leafy parts of plants that are used in cooking that have generally high essential oil content. They're fragrant, like rosemary and thyme and oregano. And then the spices are generally considered to be from the root, stem, the seed, the fruit, the flower, or the bark. And then they are also usually high in essential oils, and a lot of times they're good toasted or crushed. But really, it's a much bigger category than that. Herbs are a much broader category of plants. So when we started the Kaw Valley Herb Study Group many years ago in 2011, we decided when we were talking about herbs that we would use the definition of herbs given by Holly Shimizu when she was director of the U.S. Botanic Garden. And her definition, which we love, is an herb is any plant, which is a tree, shrub, vine, perennial, biennial, or annual, which is useful. And really, we could stop right there. But she went on to say herbs are plants which are valued historically, presently, or potentially for their flavor, fragrance, medicinal qualities, economic or industrial use, or for their ability to act as a dye. And of course, we always love to add that we consider herbs our wise green allies. We love partnering with herbs. It's something you hear us talk about all the time. That's one of our favorite things is herbs. It's been a shared passion of ours for years, and we partner with them, herbs and spices, every day in our cooking in so many other ways. And of course, we are delighted that there is a day set aside to celebrate them. So this Monday, happy National Herbs and Spices Day.
It's probably about every day in our house.
That's for sure.
And we did talk about lavender a little bit last week, and I'd like to expound on that just a little bit more because we're going to be out in our gardens gathering the lavender for several weeks as it comes on. The more you pick it, the more it blooms. And that's the way it is with most flowers. We do pick it by the long stems, and the longer the better. When you have the long stems, you can actually make a wand, a lavender wand, and this just encapsulates the flowers within, and they're all on the one stem. We tie them together. And it's just a fun little sachet. Something I just love to put in a little basket and leave around. I love looking at it. It's just wonderful.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yes. Now, a lot of people will ask, why do you grow lavender? Well, it is the most beloved herb of all. It is my number one herb in my garden. I absolutely love lavender. It fulfills everything, I believe. The fragrance is probably number one, but it is also something that we can use in our salves. The care of it is very minimal. It comes from the Mediterranean area, so it means it requires little water, not very much water at all. And in our neck of the woods, in the summertime, August, when we don't get any rains, it's just pretty good because we don't have to be out watering it. I like to put a couple handfuls of gravel in the bottom of the hole that I plant my lavender in. And the reason for that being that it helps establish the good drainage. Now, if you have a clay soil, you do not want to add sand, just add gravel or rock because the sand can get very hard with the
compacted.
clay. It can compact. It's a very simple one. Don't give it any compost, don't give it fertilizer, anything else. It just doesn't need that. Now, the varieties that we have here in the Midwest that will winter over that flower very prettily is Hidcote. And that's my number one that I recommend. Hidcote has prettiest purple blooms and has a wonderful fragrance. There is another one called Munstead. It will have a bluer flower on it. Now, they all will smell just absolutely divine. So whichever one you choose to plant will be beautiful in your garden. There are also white and pink varieties if you choose to have them. But I always think when a plant is called lavender, it needs to be lavender in color.
For sure.
And purple is so showy in a garden anyway, just so showy. When to gather has been a question that's been asked of us a lot. Well, when do I pick it? When should I go get it? And that is as soon as it turns a little bit of purple, you see the buds on it, pick it in the bud stage if you can. Now, this requires lots of observance to go out and look at it and talk to it. Ask if it's ready for you to gather. When it is the bud stage and you hang it upside down to dry, it is going to dry with the buds intact. They're going to stay on that stem. Now, if you wait till it's bloomed, that's a little past the point possibly of gathering. Now, I still gather, of course, but when you hang it upside to dry, you're going to lose some of those buds. And as they dry, they're going to fall off. And what I like to do then is hang them in a spot where I can keep a cloth under them, and whatever drops down, I do save to be used. And of course, the buds then can be used in cooking. We use the dried buds to put into a sleep pillow for a sleep aid because it's very calming. Lavender is very calming. It balances us out. We also use it in oils and salves. We use it for insomnia, anxiety, irritability, headaches, all of those things. It'll help heal wounds.
Yes.
It's good for burns. Mm-hmm. Anything else you can think of?
That really is, you're hitting all the good highlights. It's antibacterial and very healing. It's wonderful. It's had a long history of healing.
It has. And I find it very calming to sit with the lavender. Mm-hmm. If you can sit with the lavender and visit with it a little bit. And as I do that, you almost go into a meditation with the lavender. It as you're gathering its stems from it. We always leave a little bit also for the bees, and the bees are always on it as we're gathering it, which is just fabulous.
It
I
is
think
fabulous.
we're communing with the bees also.
For sure. It's also been used for illness treatment and prevention historically. It's said to have been one of the herbs in the Four Thieves
That's
blend.
right.
And that's traditionally been used that way. And you can also do your dried bundles as smoke baths. Some people call it smudging. You can use like smoke baths for yourself or for a room to. It's been used actually in the past to actually fumigate hospital rooms long ago, along with other herbs as well.
I put it in our Grace garden tea that we sell here, and then in our moon tea.
Yes.
This time of the year is perfect because the roses are blooming, the lavender is blooming, and the lemon balm is ready. It's just fabulous. And the spearmint. So you can put it all into a big jug and put it out when the full moon.
That's very strong tasting, so you just use a little bit.
Use a little. It's like roses.
Yes.
They're both very potent.
Yeah, and it's so wonderful.
Yes. So don't overdo the usage of it because they are very strong. But it is one of those just wonderful herbs. And once if you've never smelled them before, inhaled that fragrance, you're never going to forget it once you do. It was the first herb I ever planted in my garden, and that's where it really got me started on my herb journey. And this happened because a sales clerk at a garden store said I needed to really have that one in my garden. And I'm really thankful that she did. I don't know who the lady was at this point. And at this point, of course, I've had time in between, I think back, and what if she hadn't said something to me? I would not have taken this journey into the world of herbs, and I'm so glad I did.
I think that's one of the reasons why we're so passionate about sharing it with other people, because those small things, just that small introduction to something can change the trajectory of somebody's life, their interests, their passions, and it certainly did for us. I mean, because you were passionate about it, I became passionate about it, and
we passed it on.
We have to, yes, and those ripples go out into the world, and they help people to really understand and to appreciate those wonderful herbs and spices.
Well, and after the first year, I went back and bought another one. And so each year after, I kind of bought another one. And it wasn't because they were dying out. I just added to my whole stash of them and just loved that I had a whole pathway of lavender.
And all the fragrant herbs are just, you go out inside and you rub the leaves and you just have that's very sensory experience.
Yes. Actually, the leaves are the stems of they're not the flower stems, but the leaf stems smell just as fragrant
as the flowers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. It's not just the flowers that have the fragrance. The entire plant really has that fragrance in it.
And so I have mine in a raised bed, and they do very well right there, right now. And I've had them for several years. So
yeah, raised beds or berms, places where they can get good
drainage.
Is really a good place for them.
And I think about anyone can grow them. So if you don't have a lavender in your garden, please plant one. You'll be glad you did.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
And this is also the month, of course, of Pride Month. Pride Month is in June, and as the parent of queer kids myself, I am very proud of, and I support my kids and my friends and everyone who chooses to color outside the lines and live outside the box every day, all year long. I always tell people we don't need to understand other people's lifestyles or their needs or their choices, and it doesn't really matter if it makes people uncomfortable. Really, as my husband always says, and I love this, it's simple, basic human decency to protect the rights of all people, to encourage people to be fully themselves, to love whomever they desire, and to refer to them however they wish to be referred to. And so I think that's just good basic human decency. Love is love is love, unconditionally. We encourage you, along with us, to stand up for others, to speak out against bigotry, and to be a beacon of light and love.
We also have some openings in our basket classes.
Yes, just a few openings in our market basket classes.
So we have 5 classes listed, and they are
almost all full.
They are. So jump on it.
Jump in if you want to join it. If you want to come learn how to make a wonderful, beautiful market basket.
And have a lot of fun.
For sure.
Yes. And knowledge is power. Once you learn how to do it, you can make more.
Yes, which is so wonderful.
Yes. And to give as gifts or to use it yourself. And so usually I show you something little that I've stitched on or whatever. And I'm still working my 52-week challenge book journal, and it's just coming along great. But this, I talked about lavender, and this is a little lavender sachet. It's embroidered with the word lavender on it. Lavender, of course, is our #1 herb for a sleep pillow or just a little sachet in a drawer. Something to give as a gift to someone. And this is just a sweet little lavender.
That's so lovely, Mom.
It is so sweet. I like it too.
I love the things you make.
And I love the little French knots that make the little lavenders. They're just really precious.
And beautiful. And I'd like to close with a June blessing that I wrote for you. May your June bring clear blue skies of joy, verdant green, lush foliage to open your heart, color-drenched, fragrant blossoms to lift your spirit, and time to deeply connect with Mother Earth and all her creatures.
And with that, we'll plan to see you next week.
Good Earth blessings to you.